good spot. Ready?
Yeah, action.
Hello everybody, welcome back to our channel. We are here in Spiti Valley, a place that is so special to us. We call it our second home.
So yesterday, we got our hands on this Himalayan. We got to ride about 250 kilometers in total the entire day.
To give you an idea of the route, this is the Ladakh-Sarchu highway.
Correct.
But towards Tandi, there's a bridge where you take a left, then you go to a place called Udaipur, which we did not know existed. Amazing sort of a landscape, very good for testing a motorcycle. So what we did was, two of us rode, three things we did. First, he rode alone. Second, I rode alone. And third, we ridden Pillion. So based on all of this is what we are going to give you our review. And you all already know that we have a big bike at home that we tour in, which is our Suzuki V-Strom 650. So
and also the BS4 Himalayan.
So based on that experience, here is our review of the all-new Himalayan.
21-inch tires, nice large beak, number plate, LED headlights, you've got LED indicators as well, windscreen, tripper dash unique. This is a nice wide handlebar, round mirrors, this is your switchgear, classical tank, 17 liters, wide seats here. You've got capacity to have 5 kg top box here as well, but a small plastic chain guard, standard center stand, nice long lever. Come to the back here, you will see a DID chain, a 140/80 section tire. Notice here something unique. The brake light is actually integrated into the indicators.
So first, let's talk about the looks. Some people told me it looks like V-Strom because of the beak.
People are also calling it a bigger X-Pulse. Right?
But the truth is, when you see the motorcycle on camera, in the photos and videos versus when you actually see it, there's a slight difference.
It's actually got a unique, classic, fluidic design to it.
Yeah.
So talking about ergonomics, I'm 5 foot 10 inches. As you can see, I can actually flat foot on the ground. The beauty is they've actually offered this seat in about 3 or 4 variants. There is a low seat height accessory which is only about 805 millimeters. The one I'm sitting on right now is 825 millimeters, and it's actually adjustable. This seat right here is actually adjustable, and you can increase the height to 845 millimeters. And then there's the rally version, which is basically a flat seat, which is 855 mm, but it's narrow, so it's actually okay even if you have a lower inseam. Let's talk about the Pillion ergonomics now. How does that feel?
So the seat is fine. I like the hard seat. It's different from the Himalayan. But one thing that I do find a bit difficult is that the footpeg is high up. So the minute I sat, even in the morning when we were riding Pillion, this is too straight. Usually I would prefer it to be at least this much, this angle. Even if you want to add an additional whatever, so it would be
cushion,
high.
Yeah. We'll also talk about the rider seat is that it's so long that I can actually push back or push forward in case you want to keep a bag or something in between, or you want to slide forward, up and down. It's neutral, it's comfortable all day long. So let's talk about the engine. RE doing liquid cooled engine for the first time. It's 452cc, puts out about 40 bhp, and 80% of the torque is available at 3000 rpm itself. You may think that this is just a 40 bhp bump from the earlier 411cc engine, but you couldn't be further away from the truth. It's actually an all-new engine. It behaves entirely differently from the older one. So now coming to the chassis, which is a much debated point about on the earlier Himalayan. If you notice here, the subframe is entirely different. It's separate, right? It's bolted on. The purpose of this is very simple. If you're into really hardcore off-road riding or something like that, and this breaks, the parts that you need to replace are less, and you can basically just get this fitted on. So if you come closer, take a look at this chassis right here. This is a bolted on subframe. Right? Also notice these are hex bolts because they can be torqued really tightly, while these are Allen bolts. They don't require that level of torquing. The other point is this right here, this footpeg, this whole joint is rubber mounted to reduce the vibrations. Coming to the big question. Yes, RE is going to offer tubeless spoke trims. They're still C8 grip tires, big block pattern tires. They've still maintained a 21-incher in the front and a 17-incher at the rear. The difference is, although this is still a 90/90, that is now a 140/80. So they've gone up again in tire width. To our capability, as you know, as far as we could push it yesterday off-road, I felt really confidence inspiring. I felt like it was able to traverse all those, those terrains really easily. But there were a couple of experts who basically said, that if you added a set of knobbier tires to this, you could essentially take this to the next level. Now there's a trick up the sleeve that Ari's got this time. What you're seeing here is tube type tires. However, Ari is going to be offering tubeless spoke trims. The caveat here is that they are yet to be BIS certified in India. So I think we might have to wait a while for the tubeless setup to come, but these will be offered internationally. Talking about the suspension setup, you've got 200mm travel at both ends. Ari is offering a Showa upside down fork in the front. The rear is preload adjustable, the front is not adjustable at all. But the one significant difference between this and the BS4 Himalayan is that this is no longer a soft suspension setup. If you push the bike hard, it kind of stiffens up and gives you that confidence to bend into corners. At the same time, when we kind of took this off-road, I'm telling you, I could not feel any kind of pressure or thrust or throwback at the handle, and it was very, very pliant. Talking about the ground clearance, which I'm sure most of you are wondering, this actually has gone up by 10mm. On the earlier Himalayan, it was 220mm. On this, it's 230mm. On all the terrains that we went through yesterday, I didn't bottom out anywhere. But I'm sure at this point, you're actually wondering, what about the sump guard? By default, this comes with a plastic kind of a sump guard, which is, I think, adequate. But at the same time, there is a whole bunch of accessories that Ari will offer to you to make this experience even more safer. So talking about the switch gear, you've got a Type-C charger here. Coming to the left, you've got the indicators, you've got the pass, which has now become common in all REs. Not a big fan of this, to be honest, because your thumb has to come up. This is a 5-way joystick that controls the tripper dash. You also have a home button here that also aids to this. You also have a horn here. Notice here, non-adjustable clutch lever. However, you can adjust the free play from here. If you come to the right, this is your kill switch. This controls the riding modes, and then you've got your emergency brake light activation right here, emergency indicator activation here. Again, non-adjustable brake lever. The one thing I did like is the girth of these grips is now a little wider, which actually makes it far easier to hold on to them. If you talk about the mirrors, I know they're round mirrors. I'm not a big fan of round mirrors typically, but what I did notice is that it has adequate view and they do not vibrate. It does have good view and it does have great adjustability as well. I believe there is an accessory that Ari will provide that will allow you to extend the mirrors by about an inch or two. This is something that's piqued everybody's interest. It's a 4.5mm instrument cluster. You will have Google Maps, Spotify integration as standard. There is a patent pending on this, I believe. The entire day today, we actually haven't tested the eco mode. There are 4 modes: ride mode, performance, performance ABS on, ABS off, and then eco ABS on, and then eco ABS off. Coming to the windshield, for me, this wasn't adequate. For someone of my height, 5 foot 10 inches, this wasn't adequate. I was getting wind on my chest, I was getting wind all over. Ari will offer an accessory here, which is about, I believe, about 90mm taller. You've got a headlight grille, metal headlight grille. We already spoke about this, but Ari will be providing a low seat accessory for the rider. You will also get your saddle stays, and if you remember the panniers that they offered with the BS4 Himalayan, they will fit on this. The one addition here now is that they will offer a top box as well, along with a top plate on which the top box can be mounted. Pillion point of view?
So now is when I come into the picture, is it?
We rode enough.
Yeah, so to be honest, I'm happy we got to ride the Spiti road, because this is one of the roads we struggled quite a bit in the BS4.
2021.
In 2021, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video. So I would personally say that coming from a BS4 to this, go for it. I would say it's definitely a step up. And I'm petite. I do not have a lot of mass, so for somebody with my body ergonomics, I would say perfect fit. The seat is good. If you want additional, you can add a float, so that also works. I think other than that, the one slight thing, definitely the way my leg was angled, I am not a huge fan of it. That needs to be somehow checked and rectified. Yeah. Other than that, I guess the pickup of the vehicle when you're revving, I didn't feel a thing. Unlike some other vehicles we've taken test ride on, which pushes you back.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
Linear acceleration.
That was good, and overall the entire ride was good.
What did you feel about the cushioning of the seat?
The cushioning is good.
It's harder, no?
It's harder. It's harder than the memory foam that was there earlier. It's harder than that. Depends on where you're coming from. If you're coming from a smaller vehicle to this one, there are no cons. Go for it. If you are considering this for any other purposes or replacing something, please see what you're replacing, because that is what is important, because that will give you your feedback and your point of view.
Yeah, that's good perspective, because we own the V-Strom 650 XT. We also own the BS4 Himalayan. So we've kind of had a hand at about 80,000 kilometers overall with those two bikes. So we know how a V-twin feels like. We also know how a single feels like.
Yeah.
This one, however,
we also know how riding, couple riding on a highway, your Kanyakumari to Bangalore to Pondicherry highway, and then this, and then just the curves, to Ladakh. We know how it feels. So that's my point of view. Depends on what you are upgrading from, and if it's your first vehicle, I think it's an absolutely fantastic vehicle. And have your requirements. I think this is what me and Sham do in general when we want to pick a bike or talk about a bike. What is it that we want is not the 100,000 reviews you watch or what the brand has to say.
Absolutely, or the spec sheet,
or the spec
for that matter.
It is 3 things in mind. What are your requirements with the motorcycle? Listed down. What is your budget for the motorcycle? Listed down. And the third thing is, how much for the budget and your requirement are you going to use it? Based on these things, I think is a call you should take. But for us, from BS4 to this is a definite go for it. There was another person with whom we spent quite a good amount of time, and I am sure you don't want to hear from. So we have Bosky sir here. Say your hello.
Hello.
So we're going to ask you a few questions about what your experience was, and I have this here about what you felt. So I'm going to go away from the frame now, and both of you just discuss transparently what you thought and what you felt.
We can do that.
I'll copy you and ask you the question that you ask your, the people you invite. One word.
Non-intimidating.
I think we also spoke something similar, right?
Yes.
Welcoming, warm. It's like a nice welcome hug, and then it allows you to go wherever you want to your capability. And the thing I found beautiful when we spoke to the experts and how they spoke about changing the block pattern tires to some knobbier tires, that said something about this bike, didn't it?
Yes. Hearing them speak in the same lines we spoke, it does 2 things. Makes us look good that we were speaking the same thing, and what we felt about the motorcycle was also right.
Right.
It's confidence inspiring, makes me feel better than what I actually am. So that gives me the chance to enjoy the scenery more than sit with those blinders and watch the track only. It's like I've been riding this for a long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's unusual. Yeah.
It felt very, very familiar. I know I've ridden the BS4 quite a bit. You have ridden the BS3, and then now you have your own Muddy Hog. I think we both own a variant of this, and yet it felt so familiar. Ergonomically, it felt very familiar. But what was not familiar was how the engine kind of behaved today. I mean, the entire 250 kilometers, I think that was an eye-opener for me, honestly. Coming from a V-twin, both of us share also a V-twin, and then we also share a single. And coming from that to this, what are your thoughts on that?
I want to hear from you. How was it doubles?
I'll tell you what. We are at about 60% capacity here in this altitude.
Yeah.
And if I'm being fully honest, I didn't feel the lack of power at all. The ratios are something that the gear ratios are something I felt it's a bit tall. I had to come down to 1 for some of those sweeps, especially, going 2 up. But I didn't feel like it was stressed, to be honest with you. And I didn't feel like I had to rev the engine really high.
You could shift to the next gear.
I could shift to the next gear.
Pull it.
Yeah. And that's something you spoke about also, right? The throttle control, right? Yeah. For the first time.
Coming back to the bike, so you're right, the V-twin. Do you know how to put an ad on OLX?
Oh man. With that, thank you.
Thank you for the invite. Happy to be here.
Amazing to have met you.
Thank you.
So you have the entire review in front of you. Let us know in the comments if there's anything we've missed and anything you would want us to answer. We would be open to help. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. See you on the next one.